Deku is often criticized as one of the most boring protagonists in anime. While I can understand why you might not like Deku, the truth is that he is actually a great protagonist. In this hero highlight, we're going to explore Deku's role as the fanboy. In essence, what makes Deku such a great protagonist is the manner in which he embodies us as fans. Like Deku, we are all fans that dream of meeting our heroes. And this is why we are drawn to Deku, because we want to see him win and become a great hero, just like we want to succeed in our own lives. While Deku's role as a fanboy drives him to be a great hero, it also holds him back from finding his own path in life. Before we start, if you would like me to give you a shout out in the next video, make sure to share this video on Twitter and tag me at Shonen_Ouji. Since this is the first video, I'm going to give a shout out to Mark the Dragon Ball Dad for his continuous support. Make sure to check out his channel, and don't worry Mark, Todoroki is on my list. With that out of the way, let's start by looking at Deku from a glance. Deku is 166 centimeters tall, which is just over 5 foot 5 inches. A bit on the shorter side, but somewhat close to average height depending on where you look. When we meet him, he has a very light build. He also has freckles, big curly hair, and eyes so big it's a miracle his head can support the weight. Deku's appearance alone gives us a fair amount of insight into his personality. His short height, freckles, curly hair, and big eyes make Deku look about as threatening as a puppy. This of course stems from Deku having been born quirkless. Deku not having a quirk makes him the epitome of plain. In fact, Uraraka refers to Deku as the plain-looking one before she later learns his name. While all his peers have something that make them stand out, Deku lacks anything to make him stand out. This plainness serves two roles for Deku as the fanboy. The first, and the more obvious, is that Deku finds himself on the sidelines of life, constantly comparing himself to others. The second role this serves is that it makes Deku exceptionally observant. Since he is always comparing himself to others, Deku develops a skill for critical thinking that allows him to see people for what they're worth. This is most evident in his habit of note-taking, stating that he always takes notes on heroes he thinks are amazing. So, what we see at a glance is that Deku is just like us. He has a habit of comparing himself to others, but consequently gains a knack for identifying the value in others. And this is why we like Deku, because as humans with insecurities, we have a habit of downplaying our own skills and focusing on what we like in other people. As a result, we are drawn to Deku because we relate to his insecurity. Now, let's take a deeper look at how Deku's role as the fanboy drives his progress, but also holds him back. Having watched All Might for his entire life, Deku gains a desire to save people. This innate desire can be seen when Deku tries to save Bakugo from the slime villain. All Might even mentions that Deku's body moved before he could think. This is especially convincing considering that All Might and the other pros just stood there and weighed their options, while Deku disregarded his fear and ran to save Bakugo. And this desire to help those in need appears time and time again throughout the course of the story. This habit of putting others before himself is what ultimately wins over All Might. When the two first met and Deku asked if he could be a hero, All Might disappointingly told him to give up and explore his options. But after the slime villain incident, All Might realizes that Deku has the same desire to save people as any other great hero. The other strength from Deku's role as a fanboy is his skill of analysis. Having observed heroes and quirks his entire life, Deku amasses a vast knowledge of quirks and how they work. Not only does his habit of note-taking teach him a lot about the people around him, but it also develops his critical thinking. Deku is quick to observe someone's strengths and weaknesses and adapt according to the situation he's in. A great example of this is the race and the sport festival. Seeing that he'll probably lose, Deku quickly builds a plan to win by using the obstacle to his advantage in order to gain the lead. Another example of his quick thinking can be seen when he plans to save both Tokoyami and Bakugo. Seemingly forced to choose between saving one or the other, Deku is able to think of a way to save Tokoyami and Bakugo thanks to his knowledge of their quirks and how they work together. As we can see, Deku's role as the fanboy helps him admire those around him and use a vast amount of knowledge to think on his feet. The downside to Deku's role as the fanboy is that he tends to see the world in an overly idealistic manner. When he's training with Gran Torino, he learns that his admiration for All Might acts as a shackle to his ability to think on his own. Likewise, his idea of a hero as someone who saves people blinds him from the fact that he needs to actually compete with his peers in order to be the greatest hero. As someone without a quirk, Deku developed a habit of submitting to others because he emphasized their strengths and his own inadequacy. When he gains One for All, he struggles to grow because he has never considered himself as someone who could win against others despite his dream of being great. Now that we know his strengths and weaknesses, let's take a look at how these influence Deku's character arc. Everything thus far has only been build-up for the height of Deku's arc. As we know, he starts out just as another side character, quietly observing his peers and desperately dreaming of becoming a hero. When he inherits One for All, he suddenly becomes a candidate for the next symbol of peace, but this role is something that Deku grows into by overcoming a number of obstacles. The very first obstacle Deku is faced with is his idealism. Again, part of what holds Deku back is his idealistic perspective. When he meets All Might, he is devastated that his childhood hero is actually a tired skeleton. From this moment forward, Deku is faced with the task of reevaluating his beliefs. One of the most important of these is his past belief that he could never compete with Bakugo. When he is assigned to fight Bakugo with Uraraka, Deku is forced to reject his fear of Bakugo in order to compete with him and win the match. This fight with Bakugo reveals the next obstacle for Deku, making his power his own. After Deku wins, he can't help feel guilty for winning with a quirk he wasn't born with. This guilt can be seen when he feels obligated to confess to Bakugo that he borrowed this quirk from someone else. The result of this exchange between Deku and Bakugo is that Deku declares to make this new quirk his own, which is exactly what he needs to do before he can become a great hero. And so we see that Deku has two tests that he must pass before he can become the hero he has dreamed of. Deku needs to dispose of his old beliefs and gain more realistic perceptions of the world, and he needs to make his inherited power his own. Throughout his time at UA, Deku manages to make progress in both of these tests. In the sports festival, Deku tells Todoroki that Todoroki's power is his own. While this helps Todoroki escape his father's grasp, it also demonstrates that Deku knows quite well that where a quirk comes from matters much less than what you do with it. Thus, we see that Deku is able to overcome his guilt of inheriting One for All. This lesson paves the way for Deku to learn full cowling as well as his shoot style. In regard to his idealism, Deku is forced to see after the fight at USJ that All Might is not invincible. Since this lesson is something he is faced with rather than something he comes to accept, Deku still struggles with this test. This can be seen in the final exam with Bakugo and All Might, where Deku builds a plan to escape because he admits defeat before he even tries to fight against All Might. Compared to Bakugo, who sees All Might as someone to fight and overcome, rather than an ideal to be chased after like Deku sees All Might. Through his teamwork with Bakugo, Deku is again forced to reevaluate his view of All Might and see that the person he sees as a perfect ideal is only human. And so we find Deku's true test to stop imitating All Might and forge his own path. Deku must learn to become a hero on his own terms rather than look to All Might for all the answers. Deku's test is to stop copying All Might and start finding his own answers. In the beginning, All Might was a distant ideal for Deku, but with his new power, Deku slowly matures and learns to humanize All Might. This progress helps Deku become a hero on his own terms, developing his own fighting style and finding out on his own how to become a hero. And this is the exact trajectory Deku is on now. After finding his own fighting style, Deku must continue to work on his moves so that he can keep saving those in need like Koda and serve as someone that people can rely on. Likewise, Deku must also continue to find his own answers in life so that he can become a true hero and learn what it really means to save someone. But nonetheless, Deku will always be our fanboy. Even as he gains his new perspective on life, Deku will continue to inspire us as someone who sees the good in people and helps those in need to see themselves for their true worth. And that is it for this hero highlight. I had a really great time talking about Deku, and I can't wait to see him grow in Season 4. If you enjoyed what I had to say about Deku, make sure you like the video. And if you disagree, comment below and let me know what you think. Did I really muck up Deku's character? Again, let me know. Subscribe to the channel so that you can keep up with future content and you can see the next hero highlight. Thank you for listening, and I hope to hear from you soon.